Welcome back everybody, I hope you're having a beautiful day. As I'm sure you guys are aware, I've started making episodes on the PettyRevenge subreddit, and today I thought, you know what, why don't we check out the ProRevenge subreddit? So yeah, that's the plan today. We're gonna read a whole bunch of satisfying stuff, and I hope you have a wonderful time. I left behind a dead man switch in the company workflow when I sensed I was about to be bullied into quitting. First of all, the story is a bit older, but I will keep stuff rather ambiguous at times just for my own safety. I don't know how much my company can find out. I hope I can put into words so everybody understands, especially as English isn't my first language. Also, there will be a TLDR at the bottom. Also, there are some Google translations in this, so please be merciful. So, let's get started. I started working in logistics at a company that builds things. That was just as COVID started actually. When I started, we were 5 people in the team, but one of the guys quit soon after. This is important because it was a very good insight into how my department operates when they don't need or want a certain someone around. They won't outright fire you, since then they have to pay you a severance, but instead they'll bully you into quitting. I saw pretty much the whole package, excluding them from meetings and important events, putting them down in public, lecturing them, never noticing good work was done, but always making sure that everybody knows about work that is poorly done, drowning someone in work and then berating them when they inevitably can't keep up. It was outright childish at times. I didn't register it at the time, but it was a really valuable lesson for later. I was put in charge of managing our overseas suppliers, among other things. About half of our material came from overseas, most of that from China. While it seemed like a big task for somebody new, it wasn't done out of malice. Genuinely, everyone believed we were going to get a guy in China for the Chinese supplies, and then I'd be left with a handful of others. It seemed fair, but we never got that guy for China, and I was left with all the overseas suppliers. Another important thing is that just in this project, the company had decided to change the workflow for overseas suppliers. This is because due to COVID, the price of shipping containers had exploded. To explain it as simply as possible, previously the suppliers were responsible for filling our containers and bringing them to the harbour. We were responsible for picking them up from the harbour and bringing them to us. However, due to demands and many other things, sometimes we just needed 2 or 3 pallets of parts where a dozen or more could fit inside a container, so we were shipping a lot of air. The new workflow would have had the suppliers bring the parts of an external warehouse, one in the US, one in China, and then we would load them into containers to get the containers as full as possible, and then bring them to the harbour and then into our plant. This way we needed to rent far fewer containers. This complicated things because it erased the direct contact from us to the suppliers, and there was no official method of how we were going to keep in contact with the suppliers and tell them how many parts we need or how to package them, or if there were any changes requested, etc. During that time, I was mostly left alone to deal with it, and I set up a system with Excel. It was mostly manual, rather simple, but it worked well. It worked so well that one of the suits even chatted with me about it for a bit, since he wanted to make it a standard in future projects. And also, this is very important, I was the only person who actually knew all of our overseas suppliers and their contacts. Some of you might be able to tell where this story is going already, so during that entire time, nobody had actually bothered to ask me to explain to them how the system worked and where I kept track of all the supplier contacts. All of this data was hidden on like slide 800 of some Excel file that I had saved in a folder titled Part Pictures, which was otherwise filled with pictures of parts. Now, moving forward, as COVID began dying down, the department for whatever reason decided they don't need me anymore. I have theories, but nothing certain, so I'll just leave it at that. I pretty much saw precisely the same thing going down as I had seen with that one guy who'd left shortly after I started. All the bullying. I thought to myself at first that if I pull through and I keep doing a good job, and I believe I did a good job, they would eventually cool down, but they didn't. After 2 months of that, I said screw it, and I decided to just sit out and endure until the Christmas bonus that we get every year, and then hand in my notice. And also, I just delayed teaching anyone how my system worked until I was gone. Off topic, for my own future employment, I actually lucked out. One of the local suppliers I was managing had a really chill guy as managing director. I gave him a call, I explained I was about to be unemployed, asked if they needed staff. He then called me into an interview. We talked about anime for an hour while his HR lady looked confused about what Attack on Titan was, and he told me I can come in the moment that I'm done with my current job. Back on topic, about a month into working at my new job, I got a call from the old job, the department manager. To his credit, he was always a reasonable guy. He told me in plain words that they have no idea where the hell to even start with the Chinese suppliers. He then offered me my old job back with a very respectable pay increase. I explained that I already had a new job. 2 days later, I got another call where the same manager offered me many times my monthly salary just to come in for 1 week and instruct my old team in how my process functioned, introduce them to all the contacts, etc. I told him I refused because of the way I'd been treated by them when I worked there. He said that he understood and he wished me luck at my new job and then hung up. This week I randomly got in touch with some of the people in the transport department from my old job. They mentioned that in the now 10 months since I left, the logistics department racked up 8-figure losses due to wrong deliveries, over and under deliveries, outdated parts, some suppliers cancelling their contracts, and new supplies needing to be sourced, etc. And all the blame for that fell on my old team. My new job is fine. It's not the best job, but I get to travel a lot and I get nice bonuses for it. My boss isn't around much since he got married. I do sometimes regret not taking that offer for a week as an instructor. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed the read. Wow, they did not realise what they were getting themselves into, did they? And that's what they get as well. Treated you so awfully. And what, they think it's okay to do stuff like this? Obviously they do, because they've done it multiple different times. Yeah, this couldn't have been more deserved. And good on you for standing your ground, OP. The next one is called My Boss Stole My Super Bowl Tickets, so I made him lose a major client. With the NFL playoffs back on, I thought you all might enjoy this football-related revenge story. I'm a big fan of the 49ers, the rabid all-day tailgate in the parking lot type. A few years ago, we made it back to the Super Bowl. I was working at a consulting firm with a handful of accounts I'd interact with directly. One client in particular knew how big of a Niners fan I was. I was the day-to-day lead on his account. He really liked working with me and we became friends, often grabbing drinks or dinner after our meetings. He had access to a pair of extra company seats to the game, and as a thank you, wanted to give them to me as a gift. He passed the tickets over to the partner on that account, who I'll refer to as Ding Dong Head Partner, to be given to me as a surprise. The game came and went and we lost and it sucked. The next time we met, we went to drinks afterwards and he mentioned, "Hey, by the way, why didn't you go to the game? I heard somebody else was in your seats." I asked, "What game?" He said, "The Super Bowl." Confused, I answered, "I didn't have seats to the Super Bowl." He told me that he gave Ding Dong Head Partner a pair of his company tickets for me as a gift, so I could attend. I had zero idea what he was talking about. He looked shocked and told me to quietly ask around about it and get back to him. When I was back in the office the next week, I found out through one of the secretaries that Ding Dong Head Partner had given a pair of Super Bowl tickets to another one of his clients as a gift from our company. I might have let this sort of thing go to keep the peace under different circumstances, but these were seats on the 30-yard line to see the bloody 49ers play in the Super Bowl. I was so pissed. I considered confronting Ding Dong Head Partner myself, but I realized it was the client who had noticed I wasn't there in the first place, so if I let him handle it, there would be no blowback on me. So I texted him, "Hey, I just wanted to thank you so much for thinking of me with those seats. It appears they were given to another one of our firm's clients." He texted back right away in all capital letters, "Are you kidding me?" And then, "Pretend I never told you, let me handle it." He followed up with me about formulating a plan. A few days later, we were asked to come down for a meeting in their office. The client requested the partner be present, not entirely unusual. So Ding Dong Head Partner and I hopped on a flight the next week and we headed over to their office. And little did Ding Dong Head Partner know, my client had orchestrated a wonderfully awkward little show to catch him red-handed. When we entered the conference room, it was all the usual suspects along with a woman in her 30s that we didn't recognize. My client immediately introduces Ding Dong Head Partner. "This is Stephanie such and such, VP from another department. She wanted to sit in on this meeting. Hey, OP, you guys must already know her from the Super Bowl." She then responds as she goes to shake my hand, "Oh, I don't think so. Did we meet there? I'm sorry if I forgot." The client responds, "Geez, Steph, how much did you have to drink? They were sitting right next to you." The client looks at me and I say, "Sorry, I wasn't there. Are you thinking of someone else?" At this point, Ding Dong Head Partner is looking visibly uncomfortable, probably trying to come up with an excuse. He starts in with an, when Stephanie says over him, "No, so-and-so from the other company were in the other seats. By the way, I was wondering why we gave company seats to those guys. Is there a project we're working on with them that I don't know about?" Obviously not. They're in completely different industries. It'd be like Coca-Cola partnering with John Deere. Ding Dong Head Partner lets out a, again. And the client immediately speaks over him asking Ding Dong Head Partner, "I gave you those tickets for OP." At this point, Ding Dong Head Partner is turning bright red. He responds, "Oh, well, he wasn't able to make it, so he must have given the seats away to someone else," and turns to me looking for me to cover for him. The client smirks at me. I respond, "What are you talking about?" The client suddenly raises his voice. "Ding Dong Head Partner, those tickets were a personal thank you gift from me to OP. Did you give them away to someone else? Was it another client?" Ding Dong Head Partner butts in with, "Maybe something got mixed up in the office." The client went quiet for what probably seemed like an eternity to Ding Dong Head Partner. He then looked down, grabbed his portfolio and iPad, put them into his briefcase and said, "I think this meeting is over. OP, it seems as if I owe you a thank you gift. Let's go to lunch. Stephanie, you're welcome to join. Ding Dong Head Partner, I need to evaluate our relationship. Please go back home and expect to hear from us next week. Ding Dong head partner suggests that he'd like to join, presumably to do damage control, and Stephanie sternly tells him, I don't think that's a good idea, and asks the front desk to see Ding Dong head partner out. As soon as he's in the elevator, we all break out laughing hysterically. Stephanie wasn't really a VP, just an employee at the company who the client had drafted into helping with his pre-planned meeting skid, but she did end up coming to lunch with us and was a fellow Niners fan and a total blast to hang out with. On our way to the restaurant, I got a desperate text from the Ding Dong partner saying that I needed to cover for the firm and that we could discuss things when I got back. I replied, yes, we do need to talk, but I'll see what I can do. Client told me to wait a couple of hours and then respond to him. One, to expect invoices for the resale value of the Super Bowl tickets. Resale is way above face value. It was over 10 grand, as well as our lunch. He picked a pricey spot and made a big show of overspending, and that he expected them to be paid immediately, and 2, expected I be given a direct apology, and 3, expected a written apology to his company for what he considered theft, and 4, he'll only ever interact with me or another one of our firm's partners, never Ding Dong head partner. The whole thing caused a stir with the other partners, and I actually came off looking great because it appeared that I'd made a good faith effort to save the client for the firm. Despite being the victim in the situation, the client would transfer to another partner, which meant that Ding Dong head partner lost his profit share on any work with them. Oh, and the other partners in the firm made Ding Dong head partner pay the invoices back out of his salary. In retrospect, I really have no idea what the hell the guy was thinking. Did he seriously believe the client would just not notice me not thanking him for Super Bowl tickets? Anyway, the well was kind of poisoned for me there long term because Ding Dong head partner wasn't going anywhere. I left the firm a few months later for a better position. The client ultimately terminated their relationship with that firm a year later. He actually now works with a good friend of mine at a competing firm. I'm still pissed I missed out on the Super Bowl even though we lost, hoping that we make it back this year so I can finally go to one in person. Go Niners. Yeah, that's right. What were they thinking? It doesn't make any sense. They were never gonna get away with it. And the way that you guys had the meeting with them was so good. That was such a fun bit to read. But yeah, God, it sounds like they did end up paying the price for it. Fair enough too, but the confusing part is why they even did it. Like, why would you feel like you could get away with something like this? The next one says, neighbors kept parking in our lot. I froze them out. This happened around 20 years ago. Our family owned 2 apartment buildings, 3 units each. We lived in 2 of them and rented out the other 4. There's nothing but these 3 flats lining both sides of the road for about a mile. Not all have parking. On the side streets are houses and very little street parking. We had more land than most of these units, since it was also our home. So we had parking for around 16 cars. Everything was fine for literally decades. But then cars started appearing in our parking lot that were not our tenants. I blocked one in one day, went outside to see that this a-hole drove through our bushes and across the yard to get out. I called the cops and nothing they could do, so I called a tow company and I had them put up signs. We'd have to call them to have a car towed. The signs seemed to work. No more random cars. That was until New Year's Eve one year. I arrive home and every space is full. There are even cars on the street blocking in the other cars. I'm beyond pissed. I call the tow company. They can't do anything for a few hours because they're so busy. We're in the Chicago suburbs and it's below 0 out. I have an idea. I dig out the lawn sprinklers and the hoses. I run one hose inside to the laundry faucet and I turn on the hot water. This way the hose and the sprinklers won't ice up, but the cars in the ground sure did. 3 sprinklers moved every half an hour or so for almost 5 hours. Every car, every square inch of the parking lot, the street by the cars, all encased in ice. I made it a point to spray the ice in the locks, also between the window sills and the glass, and in the grills. I put away the sprinklers and hoses and I went to bed. 4 a.m, furious pounding on the doors, doorbells ringing non-stop. We just smiled and called the cops, waited until they arrived and went outside. The cops were holding back laughter. These people were told to park here by their friend who owned an apartment several buildings away, the same idiot who drove over our bushes. I pointed to the tow sign and I told the people to move their cars or get towed. In our town, cops can ticket on private property with the owner's permission, so all the cars were ticketed. They were also towed since nobody could get in their vehicle. I wish we had it on video. Oh my god, that's so funny. Yeah, like this comment says, that's both evil and bloody hilarious. I wish there were photos. It's so stupid of that person to say that they could park there. Like, they got their car blocked in when they parked there. Why did they suggest it to other people as a place to park? Yeah, that's confusing, but so funny. The next one is called Former Manager Made My Life Hell, and I finally got her fired. I was desperate to join a new job after my husband and I were both laid off last year. When I was offered a new role, I knew it'd be a step down from what I was doing, but the manager and the team seemed great, and that part has not changed. However, since my manager Gary was so busy, he basically offloaded me to another manager, Jane. I was supposed to be the connection point between my team and Jane, but it quickly became Jane micromanaging me. She would ask me to work through lunch, move or cancel vacation days, call at 11 p.m. on weekends, and order me around on phone calls. She also made nasty comments about my weight and said I was big for my race. Oh god, the list of personal slights so long that it filled 3 pages. I would talk back to her and she did not like that, and that provoked her more. I only stayed there because we needed to pay the bills. Finally, I had a mental breakdown on a Friday afternoon after she yelled at me for something trivial about scheduling a meeting without including someone from her team that I didn't even know about. I was dealing with a family tragedy and I couldn't take it anymore. I told Gary about the situation with Jane and he was sympathetic and not at all surprised, considering half her team quit. He immediately offered to move me to a different team under him. I was thrilled. Well, turns out going to the new team didn't help. Jane continued to order me around from afar. When I ignored her email, she came to my desk one day and started loudly talking about how I'm not qualified for this role. Gary overheard and finally told her off, but the verbal abuse didn't stop. After 2 months there, I abruptly wrote my resignation letter and I stapled the list of Jane's offensive comments and I CC'd everyone. Gary offered a bunch of accommodations to try to keep me, but seeing how she was still provoking from afar, I said the only way for me to stay would be for her to go, and he didn't have the authority to let her go. Her manager was in a different country, and despite several HR complaints from at least 5 different people, nothing was done. So I left loudly and without shame, telling everyone exactly why I was leaving. Times were very bad for 3 months. There were nights that we would eat slices of bread just so we could pay the mortgage and emergency expenses from a health crisis and a funeral. Even after he found a job, we were still catching up on bills, and we still are. I spent months applying to 5 to 10 roles a day, sometimes over 20. Last month I saw a public memo about a big shot from a former company joining the company that I just left. I used to work with this guy closely and I texted him congrats. Let me know if you need any insights on the new place. We had a quick call where I told him some ins and outs, where I thought they could innovate. After this call, he asked me to join the team as his chief of staff. I accepted. Imagine Jane's shock when we had our first all hands call. All the VPs and above were asked to welcome the new big shot in a giant conference room. In the big shot speech, he breezed over that I'd be his new chief of staff, along with a few key names. I now sat 2 levels above Jane, and apparently within our 3 months I was not there, the other half of her team turned over. Every single person left. Gary was excited for me and said all nice things. However, Jane took the classless route and sent Big Shot an email about how I'm an unqualified idiot, that I used to work for her, how I tried to get her fired, and that she suspects I lied to get ahead. She didn't even try to be fake nice. Big Shot forwarded me her email and asked me what it was about. I was so nervous and excited. Little did Jane know, I was a director at Big Shot's competitor company and was already a level above her, so 2 levels isn't a big leap, and I worked with him for 5 years. I had an hour-long call with Big Shot, and I told him she was bad for the company culture and she was a nasty person in general, but the evidence he needed was Gary confirming that her whole team was turned over. My resignation letter was still sitting on my desktop when I logged in upon return, and a few other nasty emails she sent her recent staff, which they were happy to share with us. Big Shot fired Jane on Friday. Wow, yeah, get out of here, Jane. That was so satisfying. And yeah, good on you, YP. Yeah, that was so beautiful, and I feel like that's a good introduction to this subreddit. So I feel like that's enough for today, and we should read something wholesome. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you do want to see more episodes on this, make sure you let me know down below. That was so fun. A dude in a truck honked at me at an intersection while I waited for an older woman to cross the street. I gave him the finger. He honked again. I gave him the big middle finger wave. He followed me to the parking lot, blocked my car. I got ready to throw. He got out. Huge man. I thought, I'm dead. He put out his hand to shake, explained that he honked but noticed his error when he saw the woman, so honked again to say sorry. He followed me to personally apologize so that he wouldn't ruin my day. We shook hands. Changed me forever. And I was so glad that he didn't waste me. Oh my god, that would have been terrifying. They're like, oh, I'm dead. No, but for real, that ended up being so beautiful. The plot twist of a lifetime. It's been a long week and maybe you need to see some flower cows. Oh, aren't they so cute? It doesn't even matter if it's been a long week. I feel like we need to see these all the time. So yeah, thank you for posting these. A zeal for kindness. I'm really tired of being nice. From now on, I'm gonna be very nice. Oh, I feel like cats are actually like this, except for when they're being downright evil, which is also a lot of the time. Thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful time. And if you did and you want to see more videos like this, make sure you like and subscribe. And the comment of the day today goes to Kirby Gamer. I love when I remember your channel exists and I have someone wholesome to listen to again. Kirby Gamer, that is such a compliment. I really appreciate that, and thank you for watching the videos. That genuinely means a lot to me. Like, oh, that fun YouTube channel. I know that feels feeling though, and it is a good feeling. Like, oh, I forgot about this person. I'm gonna watch all of their videos. Thank you again for all the support, guys. I've got a fun episode planned for tomorrow, and as always, I hope to see you then. So make sure you look after yourself and make sure you have a beautiful, amazing rest of your day. And you know what I'm about to say because I say it every single day. Bye!